Hey guys, it's Carnifex with a nerd. This video today we are doing the hard mode tower guide. So this is going to include me going a little more in depth than I did whenever I did my stream of completing my first hard mode tower. And it's going to include some B-roll, roll that beautiful B-roll from it in order to display some of the things that I'm talking about, whether it comes to using characters, strategy, etc. So we're going to get on into it. So we're going to go over the types of characters that you have as a part of this team. And I have put, now this is not all the characters I'm using. I'm not saying that you need to have, what is that, 11, 13, 16, 20 characters like preloaded and ready. That is not what I'm saying. What I am saying is that these are the characters that I think stand out for probably multiple reasons, but at least one big reason for their role in being able to, with less headache and less time commitment, completing hard mode tower. So right now, who are your core characters that you are probably going to be using on literally every single main floor, right? So ignoring side rooms and those requirements. Really the only ones I'd say like you should maybe if you have like the weakest first floor ever, but here the main thing is you need to be able to have some healing up. And so if you're going to do that, you might as well have Solis. You can have Solis, you might as well have Nightiel. So Nightiel and Solis are your core. I use them literally on every single floor that I do. Then you have, and then again, like your cores, like these should be your top, like you have them with most important ability upgrades, which is for them basically everything. They should be your max gear characters because you want to have your most frequently used characters be your strongest gear characters. Next, you have what I call like the flex roles. So these are the people that'll fill into those 3 through 5 slots for most of your tower floors. So you've got, and these are ranked. So you have Cruel, Freezard, Patriarch Chi, Kinley, Ember, and Tromgar. I thought about putting like Patriarch Chi a little higher on the list. But sometimes it really is hard without Solius's leadership and all the bonus damage that you get and the chance for counter and the extra damage that comes with that. It's really hard to even like beat opponents when you're using Patriarch Chi's lead, even though it does usually end up with you having a lot more shields at the end, which helps you for the next run. So because of that reality, I put Cruel and Freezard up there. Cruel, whenever you can have that freaking reflection on cooldown and obviously the invisibility off cooldown, then you're just that's gonna set you up for a pretty nice run there. You can reflect the Solius on the enemy team. You can reflect the tank. There are certain times where certain things are going to be better for you, but usually you're going to want to take either the Solius or the tank. Freezard, again, just AoE crazy, and the TM reduction is fixed on his A3, so that's good. Patriarch Chi, if you're someone who has a Patriarch Chi built relative to your other characters, try using him before you go to a Solius lead on a floor, because you will usually, like I was saying, end up being better set up for the following floor because you'll have more shields. I have used Patriarch Chi outside of the leadership slot on a team, and sometimes it's worked. Usually it's about being able to take out a character in the first turn before they even go on the enemy's team. And then Kinley, so the fact that he's got the dodge can help make for just like the occasional miss can be really significant. And then his health regeneration on passive. And then Ember, and again, and obviously a synergy with Patriarch Chi if you are using him in the leadership slot for all that basic action. Ember is another mage and someone that, if used in combination with Cruel and Nightiel, gives you an alternate option to give the invisibility to the mages. And then you have Tromgar as a really good tank that most people have instead of using Kinley. Next, we go to the preload effect team. So again, like your core and flex, these are the characters you're going to be using 90+% of the time. Like as in like nine. If you look at these characters, they will fill your like floor 4 through like 10, almost 90+% of the time. Now, these are my preloads. There's 3 different types of preloads. I have effect, replacement, and suicide. This is not in order of priority. This is just alphabetical. So I do have Corcoran at the top because of that stun. So you want to preload him, but really his only value is in the stun. The burning is helpful because most of your other damage dealers are going to be magic users. So like that can help, but really, he's there to put down that stun for the first turn. Hard Orc's ability block, it lasts 2 turns, and it has a higher % chance, but ability block is not as good as stun, obviously. But they're actually pretty close, and obviously Hard Orc giving his buffs after is really significant. So I could easily swap the 2 of these here. Puncher Face, it's all about the AoE to force taunt. That can, 1, get rid of the invisibility situation for Cruel with her mages. It's only going to last for a turn, but it could allow you to finish off a character you wouldn't have been able to finish off otherwise, and to get around taunts. Slinger, this is not one that I use. This is simply one I'm being told about is a good use. So I'm going to go into him real quick, just he's someone we're not as familiar with. His base doesn't do too much, a little bit of turn meter reduction with 50% chance. Damage decrease for 2 turns is helpful. It's not bad. But the main thing is for this guy right here, where you can remove a buff from an enemy. Again, if that invisibility from Cruel is the only thing out there, potentially removing the taunt from the tank. A cheat death potentially from Soleus. There are lots of things that could go if he crits. From what I hear, they tend to be running 2 crit chance sets and a potency set with the applicable primary as well. They're not, and then like this is again like helpful, give himself a little boost at the beginning, and then not really using his leadership. They're not using him in the leadership slot. So anywho, that's what Slinger is about. And Major Shot. So I'm just gonna show this here real quick because I swear y'all shot fans are like worse than the Bernie Bros. So I did end up with the changes to tower because I think there is an additional very niche slot. I'm gonna put a link in the corner here because again I still cannot go super high on him because he is the inferior blinder for raid. All of the like blind cheesing, Yogi's better at it. I'm gonna post a link in the corner here of a video of one of my guildies in 9 minutes. Manual autoing Hard Orc using Yogi, no tanks. But this is not to smash on Shot because Shot jumped up a little bit, giving him a little boost in the raid. Again, I find it really hard to invest in someone just for blind cheesing in the raid. That's a lot for not a lot. And he has like worse potency and all that jazz. But for campaign and tower, because of his he has a couple abilities here that, I mean, you're honestly, see, that's the thing, even this, you have to use it twice in order for it to count. So, I mean, there's a chance you could get it a couple turns later if the passive goes towards helping that. Main thing is for the blind. Now, you can't boost it to any higher than 1. The healing block could come in handy. There are definitely times where Soleus comes around and heals someone you're about to take out. And if you're going after someone like Cruel or Freezard who's not going to have that cleansed by Nightiel, then certainly that can be helpful. Main thing is the blind, though. The reason why he's still towards the bottom of that list of people is because it's only a 1-turn blind, and a couple characters, like 2 to 3 characters, are pretty much always going to do buffs on that first turn. So that means you have to kind of like stall it out, and that now it's a little trickier than just saying, hey, I know I want to stun from this person the first turn, because that sets all their specials back around, like for Nightiel. So anyway, got a little boost there. I felt like I had to drop old lure there, so we did have another casualty there. But anywho, so I did include Major Shot here for all the Major Shot bros out there. Get off my back. He's still just is what he is. So next is for the replacement crew. So these characters are going to be ones that either Situationally, either if there's really low turn meter on someone like a Freeze Art or an Ember, you could throw an Eric Shield Breaker in there, and he might be able to help you make the difference on a tough run you're having. Little Baddie can easily go in and fill in for Kinley. I tried to save her towards the end because, again, while she can bring herself back to life through her passive, it's still... that's like a one-time thing, and so it's not as useful as having the every turn health regen. And then Xantara, still the best healer not named Soleus in the game, and that doesn't mean I'm going to swap out Soleus for her, but it means that whenever I do one of these kind of like Suicide Squad combos, she's going to be the healer that I'll throw in there to make sure that they at least are able to get all their stuff off that I want. So the final crew is the preload Suicide. So we're actually going to see in my B-roll here that you're not necessarily going to have them die, but it's a lot less likely that once they've done what they need to do, that they're going to have a lot of shields left, that they may even have their cooldown set up, that you'll have their turn meter set up in the way to really optimize them coming in and doing a ton of damage really quick. So that's why I guess you essentially have the combos we all know and love of Kyra and Venomate, and then Revel and Snorri, with Kyra and Venomate being the far superior combo there. So we're going to go here. What are the 3 phases? So you have your preloading phase. You have 3 to 4 main floors, and then you're going to have your order 3rd floor side room to set people up. I say it's because we don't have Renara and Mortha's just Mortha, and shields is really what you're going to be losing early on. I mean, again, if you want to go for it, fine, but if your concern is just I want to clear hard mode, I would ignore every other side room except for this one. Now, if you're like, hey, but then I'm missing so much stuff, feel like I got to go for it, then go for it. That's fine. I'm just saying if that's your priority, if you want to do hard mode as fast as possible to unlock that auto as fast as possible, I advise ignoring every other one than this. Start by preloading your weakest characters, right? So for me, if I'm going to be preloading characters, again, I don't use some of these, but like Corcoran and Hard Orc are always 2 characters that are in my first preloading team. And you can see like they're both in the preloading effect, but I could have easily gone with one of these. The effect one, with the effects ones, you're able to get away with them being at lower gear levels more because it's more about them doing an ability than actually like doing damage or stuff like that. But have a couple core members, so don't just exclusively do like 5 of these characters, even if you're including a tank, because you may not have enough DPS to either clear it at all, or secondly, you would just leave yourself so like strained, and you might even feel pressured to use some of the cooldowns that you're trying to reduce. It's just easier. Use your Soleus Nightingale Wombo combo for those of you who have them, and then fill in with 3 others. Mix in damage with support and tanks. So again, don't just like go all in on one. The next phase you hit, and again you hit it like starting like main floor 4 or 5, is the sustaining phase. So it's about keeping your crew as strong as possible, going through the meat of the content so that they're able to not make life too hard on you whenever you get to the next floor, because like all your shields are gone. And the main people that are going to help you out with this are Chi and Lee, but you are going to possibly, especially if you have a more built squad, you're going to run into times where they are not able to with Chi's lead, you're just not going to do enough damage to take out like a DPS early, and then you're just kind of SOL. You end up losing someone even if you still would have won. So sustaining phase is about climbing through the meat of the tower while maintaining health shields, cooldowns, and turn meter. And I forgot to say up here, prioritize the health shields, cooldowns, and turn meter of preloaders. If you're using like Soleus Nightingale, right, you're going to keep using them. They're going to live. You'll be fine. You haven't even brought in Patriarch Chi yet to keep their shields up. You don't really care about that. They're not going to die in these early teams. So and that might even mean I'm going to waste a buff or like a special or something, and we'll get into a chance where you do that in order simply to benefit the characters I'm trying to preload. Doing it back to sustaining, you may be able to finish a floor, but if you don't have a crucial ability off cooldown, you may be better off restarting than to try to make up for that next round. Make things like Nightingale's ability block. Like I use that so often to prevent taunt or prevent, invis from Kyra or something. Because if they run Kyra and a tank, then I would try to like invis with Cruel on the tank, but if I can't kill Kyra in time, blah 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 blah. You got me. So if I don't have that off, I'm like, you know what, even though I'm winning, unless it's just a really painful one, or unless I'm like floor 9, floor 10, I'm like, I just got to get going, then it may be worth kind of restarting there. And then the finishing phase. So this is kind of like floors 10 through 12, and that's where you can afford to kind of like lose a tank, use a cleanup squad, and the main goal is to be able to keep, you want to generally go out with a strong clean out squad in front, and then use your, like floor 11, 100%. If you have a built team that's similar to mine, you should 100% be rolling in with a strong, like, suicide squad, take out all but like one or two, or maybe all of the characters, and get into floor 12 so that your core team is still intact. And you can use them and then finish up with, if you absolutely necessary, with a weaker team. But even then, your core team should be able to clear out someone even if they lose people, but it's floor 12, so who cares? But basically at that point, feel free to start using preloaded characters like Corkrum, right, or like Puncherface in order to circumvent certain things, because and kind of allow them to be sacrificed too. Like, hey, I got what I wanted out of you, and I know I don't need you again, this a second time out of these 3 floors. So if they focus you down, and that's the person I have to lose, maybe even in addition to my tank, but I'm still using Kinli, and I have Tromgar and Little Baddie waiting, okay, that's fine. I lose them. I have something to use I know can get that. So don't be afraid to finish a level if you lose a replaceable champion. Right, so what we're going to do now is we're going to check out that beautiful bean footage. Alrighty, so at the beginning here, this is my first preload team. You can see Corkrum and Hard Orc are both really high on turn meter, which was my main thing, and I'm pointing that out to people here on the video. You just can't see me because it's covering over it. But anyway, so I finish off with Soleus because I don't care about his turn meter, right? I care about these guys, and even Tromgar. Now with the tanks, you don't need them really higher than 50%. So here, again, another preload. Main thing here is look at Venomate is higher than Kyra. You definitely 100% want Venomate higher than Kyra, because it will allow for the most in-sync Suicide Squad. So here you can see I have her special off, and I use that. I use her special in order to kill the enemy because, and I'll even go back here for a sec. Here, let me go back here for a sec. Eric, right? And maybe I don't, I should have used a special if I didn't here, because Eric's a bit higher. And I know that I was thinking, like, I don't know, my Soleus is a lot faster. He might be able to catch up. But I didn't want to have to redo it, and I wanted to make sure that Eric was going to have solid turn meter. So it looks like I did use the basic. I got lucky on a crit. I should have used my ability block there. And don't be afraid to do that. That's kind of the point of that clip. So next one. So this is where I'm going to use the Reflection Soleus's heal in order to not use my Soleus's heal, in order to keep his cooldowns lower. Still doing some damage here. I've got Cruel. I know that her reflection ability is going to be up the next turn. A little unfortunate there because whenever that assist knocked him out, it left everyone really low turn meter. So that wasn't great, but I had no way around that. It was the last shot, and it was on the assist that critted. So you can see here, I'm playing around. I'm not trying to kill Soleus when I could have there. There was no taunt on Tromgar. Now, I did end up getting stunned on my Chi, but the reason I was doing that was to give Patriarch Chi a chance to boost the shields. Next clip, I'm using replacement. So I'll go back real quick here. I'm using Ember in place of Cruel. And okay, one more time, because Cruel's turn meter is super low there. And it was giving me troubles. So I went in using this team, and as you can see at the end here, right, I've got that Ember down low, but I don't have any healing left. Cruel might have gotten another turn. Ember was stunned. Just playing smart there. Healing up a little bit just to make sure everybody's good, and then finishing it off. I see Freezard. Everybody else. This was tougher because this was a team with no tank. So you can see I wasn't even able to get Ember's A3 off cooldown, but at least have her A2 off, so I have something I can go off with at the beginning, and got some really good turn meter left for my core team. So here's where we go with the Suicide Squad, and this is fairly best case scenario. So real quick, pause. I can't even talk that fast. So what you can see that I've done already, right, is I ability blocked, and I got really lucky. I got everyone except Nidiel on the ability block. main person I need to get on ability block was Tromgar, because I have no way with this team of getting around his taunt. And actually I tried once, wasn't able to get around the taunt and finish off a couple really low health characters. So, because I had Veneme up first, he was able to poison. Then Kyra comes around and speeds everybody up. Hardor comes in after doing the ability block, right? And now he gave his buff to everybody, including the damage. Venomate's about to soup up Kyra. She one-shots Wonderlula. We take out Freezard pretty quick here. Now we're going to be able to take out Soleus. Like you said, this team, because it was just set up, and it was part of it was because I had Veneme off cooldown, or with higher turn meter enough to where even though he's a little slower than my Kyra, he was able to be in front of her in order that for her second turn, she's dropping down that big AoE. And we even got to a point to where her cooldowns, you can see she's on 1 and 2. So that means it'll be her invis will be up on her next turn. So this is even like, hey, you know what? I was able to clear this whole thing. And also, I could kind of do this again, but now, whenever it finishes up, my Venomate's not going to be going first. So it's not going to be quite as streamlined. If there's a lot of AoE potential on the opposing team, might not, but certainly can use as a cleanup team, even though it's not as optimized as it was the first time around. So this is the final floor, floor 12. That last one was floor 11. That's why I was using that kind of like Suicide Squad team. And I put in Eric because he had higher turn meter. My Ember was low because remember she was the last person hit from that one time. Same with Cruel. So everybody was kind of low. I knew it was a tankless team. And a lot of these characters have lower physical armor than they do magic armor. And so that's one of the other reasons why Eric is good. So dropping that turn meter, you can see it's minus 25%, even though they're not at 100% turn meter. So it's finally working. I was kind of figuring out who I wanted to go after here. Make sure I decided on Ember. Yeah, I decided on Ember just because she was kind of weaker. Get the taunt off because no one's there to get rid of it. This was a pretty easy clear, but part of the reason it is this way is because I was able to save my little baddie right until the end. All of her cooldowns were off. She had tons of, if she hadn't had all her shields, she would basically be dead right at this moment. And sure, I could have healed her up. Maybe I wouldn't have taken out Ember there. Maybe that would have meant that Soleus almost, yeah, he would have healed up Ember there to be such a bigger pain in the butt. Your floor 12 is going to feel like a breeze. The grind is getting through that like 6 through 9 where you're like, I can't lose anything because I'm not sure what I'll need in the end. I don't know how RNG will help me out with having lots of turn meter on like floor 10 and 11 and 12, like leading up into it. And so that's why you got to be a little more stingy early on. And then by the time you hit like floor 11, you've won. Like if you hit floor 11 with everyone essentially intact, you've won. You've done what you set out to do. So anyway, these are my recommendations for Hard Tower. You can see there's a good 20 characters, right, that are good. And I will say that it is because of how they've scaled up now. I really would recommend, like, I know, just like prioritizing gear 11ing those characters if you're already starting to see gear 11 characters at the top of the tower. The reason for that is when you have everyone at gear 11, it like can't get much harder than that. So really like floors 6 through 12 are kind of the same. Whereas if you're still lower, then it's like floor 6 is going to be like hard what you're actually seeing. And then just floor 12 is going to be everyone's a full gear level, maybe a gear level and a half higher than you, much better abilities. All of them are 7 stars, maybe yours aren't. So whereas before we were kind of trying to be a little stingy, now that you like hit the cap of floor 12 from the old mode much earlier now in the new hard mode, it's, you know what, go ahead and get those guys to gear 11. If you're already starting to see some of those gear 11s, those really crazy arena teams at the top. If you're still lower, it might be worth considering for you to say, you know what, I'm actually going to keep my characters relatively low. I'm going to work on getting everybody around gear 9-ish because that's where I know I can start to unlock some of these legendaries. And I'm just going to have like 15 to 20 characters at that level that are pretty good so that I have enough of a crew that I can handle kind of when I get thrown some tougher teams at me. Again, I certainly feel like it's easier at gear if everyone's gear 11 than if everyone's at gear 9 because they're still going to have an advantage over you, even though you're going to have more floors that are a pain in the butt. So, anywho, this is the hard mode tower video. I hope you guys liked it. If you like the stuff, give a like, give a subscribe. I'm gonna put the that cheat sheet in the description here, and share with your friends if you think it's good stuff. Anywho, have a good one. It's been good nerding with you today.